Good morning, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, just 6 days to go until Election Day, and some 71 million Americans have already voted early. That's more than half of the total vote from 4 years ago. President Trump and former Vice President Biden are making their final push in key battleground states. Biden is hoping to turn red states blue, visiting Georgia, a state not won by Democrats since 1992.
Something's happening here in Georgia and across America. People of different races, backgrounds, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, they're coming together to transcend the old divides and show what's possible.
Meanwhile, President Trump insists that we are rounding the corner on the pandemic despite cases surging across the country.
But here's the story. It's COVID, COVID, COVID. You can't watch anything else. They're doing heavy COVID because they want to scare people.
And President Trump is responding to a new report about his finances. The New York Times is reporting Trump failed to repay some $287 million in loans as a businessman, the vast majority for a skyscraper project in Chicago. The Times says Trump got a series of loan extensions, then sued his bank, ultimately ending in a private settlement. President Trump tweeted this morning, "I was able to make an appropriately great deal with the numerous lenders on a large and very beautiful tower. Doesn't that make me a smart guy rather than a bad guy?" New York's Attorney General is reportedly investigating whether the move broke the law. And tens of thousands of people in California have been ordered to evacuate as wildfires threaten homes across the state. The Silverado and Blue Ridge fires grew nearly 30,000 acres combined in just the last 2 days. This as more than 300,000 people are waking up without power after the earliest ice storm ever recorded in Oklahoma. The ice weighed down trees and power lines. It's expected to combine with the remnants of Hurricane Zeta and bring heavy rain and even the first snow of the season to parts of the Northeast. Meanwhile, the Gulf Coast is bracing for Hurricane Zeta. The storm is expected to make landfall as a Category 2 hurricane tonight and is expected to bring a large storm surge with it. Earlier, I spoke with Louisiana Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser for more on how they're preparing. Good morning, Lieutenant Governor. Thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be with you. Thank you.
So Zeta is on track to be the 5th named storm to make landfall in Louisiana this year. How do you start to recover from these storms when you keep getting hit by new ones?
Well, it's difficult, and with the Corona-19 as well, and still over 3,500 people still not back home from the last storm, it's wearing people thin here in Louisiana, but we've been through it so many times. You just have to deal with it and pull yourself back up and get through it. And we'll get through this one just like we have the last 5.
So given you are still dealing with damage from previous storms, and of course we're all in a pandemic right now, how do you prepare for a storm like this?
Well, thank God it doesn't look like we have to evacuate places like New Orleans where people are still in hotels. Because of COVID-19, we didn't use the traditional group shelters. We put people in hotels across Louisiana and even into Texas, so they could be distanced and not catch spreading the virus. So it's very lucky that this storm is not going to, even though it's going to be a Category 2, with the new flood protection in New Orleans and the major cities, we're not going to see massive evacuation. So we won't have to deal with that problem, which would have been really tough to do in lieu of those other storms still having people displaced.
Well, glad you got a little bit of luck there at least. It sounds like you're not too concerned about New Orleans. What areas of the state are you most concerned about?
Well, there's a $2 billion improvement in federal levees in Plaquemines Parish, that finger that sticks out in the Gulf where the Mississippi runs right up through that parish. Those levees are still under construction. And we have a 3 to 4 foot levee in certain areas in that parish. And with the suspected 4 to 6 foot storm surge, we're hoping if they're over top, we see no levee failures, and we don't see massive flooding because the storm is moving so quickly. And then also Grand Isle, Lafitte, St. Bernard, the areas outside the flood protection will see some water, as they always do. And those people, most of those homes are elevated, and hopefully it won't last long and they'll be able to get back home.
Now, for the areas where evacuation orders are in effect, is it too late at this point for people to get out? And what's your advice to anyone who wants to ride out this storm?
Well, you know, as we always say, you better be prepared if we can't get to you, and especially if you've got medical conditions, we always recommend you get out. So if you still got a little bit of time, after lunchtime, 12, 1 o'clock is where the weather will start getting bad, where you shouldn't get on the road. But if you're thinking about it, it's probably a good idea to get out, head north and get to a shelter or stay with friends out of harm's way.
All right, Louisiana Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. Wishing you and your people there a safe stay through this storm.
Thank you so much.
And there's some trouble in paradise. For travelers in Hawaii, officials have eased quarantine restrictions for those visitors with negative coronavirus tests. But many of those travelers are arriving with unapproved results. Here's ABC's Kaylee Hartung with more.
It was supposed to be a dream vacation. Rob and Pam Alexander celebrating their 46th wedding anniversary in Hawaii, just after the state made a big push to welcome visitors back to its islands.
We had 3 generations going.
Earlier this month, Hawaii revising its rules, allowing visitors in without a mandatory 14-day quarantine, as long as they had a recent negative COVID test from a list of approved testing sites. But when the Alexanders landed on Friday, after taking 3 flights, they weren't allowed to enter without quarantining. Their negative tests weren't recognized by the state after getting tested at an unapproved clinic. Frustrated and disappointed, they returned home.
Don't assume anything. Double check, triple check, make sure that you are doing it exactly the way the state or the country is asking when you go there. But it's a very expensive lesson to learn.
Elijah McCauley took an approved test before heading to Maui for a 7-day trip, but he never received his results. He's been stuck in his hotel the whole time.
This will be day number 6. There's got to be some help, some remedy for folks like me.
Hawaiian authorities say since the pre-travel testing program began 2 weeks ago, nearly 90% of visitors have arrived without trouble, including me. I got tested at this CVS, one of the state's nationwide options. Officials urge all travelers to check Hawaii's website for travel guidelines and say more help in testing and coordination is needed.
And Diane, in the coming weeks, Hawaiian officials tell us they plan to add more testing partners to that trusted list. And some airlines, like Hawaiian Airlines, they're even offering to facilitate tests for their customers on the same day as their flight for a cost. Either way, planning is the key to pulling off that trip to Hawaii. Diane.
It sure is. Kaylee Hartung, thanks for that. And now for your latest in science and technology headlines, let's go to Mona Kozar-Abdi.
In today's Tech Bites, the CEOs of Facebook, Twitter, and Google are testifying today about proposed changes to the liability protections for tech companies. Mark Zuckerberg will call on senators to update the law, but the CEOs of Twitter and Google will caution lawmakers that a rule change could hurt free speech. Jon Stewart is returning to the spotlight. The former host of The Daily Show is getting a new series on Apple TV+. The show will focus on the national conversation and Stewart's advocacy work. Finally, Harley's new electric bicycle that is. It's called the Serial 1, and Harley says it will go on sale next March. Serial 1 is a reference to the nickname of the company's first motorcycle built in 1903. The company has not released the bike's price yet. Those are your Tech Bites. Diane, a leather jacket is still appropriate, though. Back to you.
I'll get you a sidecar, Mona. Thanks. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for The Breakdown. Stay safe.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.